For anyone that's not a stranger to my channel, you already know that I used to cover Workhorse quite a bit back in the day. This was several months ago. Yes, I did own some Workhorse shares, but then I pretty much dumped my Workhorse position. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons behind why I did so in this video. We can save that for another video if anybody's interested, but long story short, I dumped my Workhorse position. I do have a good reason for doing so, and I pretty much thought that Workhorse was, well, kind of dead. But there may be some light at the end of the tunnel, so we're going to talk about why there may be light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm sure that a lot of you already know some of the details around what's been going on with Workhorse and the USPS contract lately, but we're going to cover that in greater detail, but we're going to mainly focus on the updates, the new things that you should know about Workhorse before you either invest in them or potentially increase or even decrease your current position size. I think you're going to want to hear this, so stick around because we're going to be starting right now. Hey, what's going on? It's Pat from Top Ticker Trades. If you're new here and you want to learn how to use stocks and options to make your portfolio go parabolic, make sure you start now by subscribing and tapping that bell so you never miss an upload. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back again, and this time we're talking about Workhorse. Can you believe it? I never thought that I would be making another Workhorse video, but here I am. I guess you can never tell what's going to happen in the future because we can't predict the future. But anyhow, I think I'm going to kick this off by giving you a very, very brief history of Workhorse, or actually I'm going to be giving you a Workhorse history lesson. So here's what happened. So the company essentially came into the spotlight around 2018. I could be slightly off, but I believe it was 2018. And this is about when Trump tweeted about the company, and this, of course, was in relation to the abandoned GM plant in Lordstown, Ohio. So this just happened to be one of the biggest plants. It was actually massive. And this tiny little company, Workhorse, put a bid in to buy the factory. So due to political pressures and wanting to reassure the citizens of Ohio that he would in fact bring jobs back to Ohio to replace all of the jobs that were lost as a result of the GM company dumping the facility, Trump really put the pressure on GM to either crank this facility back up or simply to sell it. So when Workhorse came along and put in their bid, the company was pretty much dubbed a hero. They were Lordstown's saving grace. So the fact of the matter was, however, that Workhorse actually had no money and was unable to get the kind of money that was needed to purchase the plant. They were also unable to get any kind of funding. So what did they do? Well, long story short, the CEO of Workhorse formed a new company that ended up going public through a reverse merger as a SPAC. This company is Lordstown Motors, and Workhorse, of course, holds a stake in Lordstown Motors. So while this isn't necessarily directly related to Workhorse and the USPS contract, the story is relevant in terms of how and why Workhorse got so much hype. So that actually ties back to Trump and the fact that the USPS contract was to be awarded to an all-American company. So Workhorse at the time was partnered with VT Hackney and had provided prototypes to the USPS. And at some point, Hackney decided that they've had enough and they wanted out. So Workhorse bought out their stake and remained in the bidding for the actual contract. But Workhorse shares pretty much soared on hype and investors expecting that this company was going to get the USPS NGDV contract. However, the USPS kept on pushing it back, or pushing the award date back, and pretty much Workhorse ended up suffering, or the share price ended up suffering. The stock went down tremendously. It had its ups and downs, so a lot of volatility there, to say the least. A lot of investors had lost interest, but a few investors stayed there. So up until recently, there pretty much wasn't any kind of news about Workhorse. And then we got the news that Oshkosh was actually awarded the contract. Now, when this happened, Workhorse shares pretty much tumbled. They plunged. So, what's going on now? Well, that's the most exciting part. It looks like Workhorse may still actually have a chance. And if they don't have a chance, well, hey, at least there's the hype that we're going to be seeing from people speculating and expecting Workhorse to get a portion, if not all of the contract that Oshkosh was awarded. So let me kind of update you on that and then give you the most recent news on Workhorse Stock. So let me just read you this article because I think it's going to do a better job explaining what actually happened than I can, and I'm going to read it pretty quickly, so try to keep up. Workhorse Group expects a prolonged process to alter the USPS Service's decision to award the next generation mail truck business to defense contractor Oshkosh Truck Corporation. The Loveland, Ohio-based Workhorse was stunned last week when the Postal Service awarded a 10-year contract initially worth $482 million to the Wisconsin company. Oshkosh makes military vehicles, fire trucks, and ambulances. The next generation delivery vehicle business came down to 3 finalists. Workhorse offered the only battery electric powered vehicle that was consistent with President Joe Biden's executive order to make all 645,000 federal fleet vehicles zero emissions EVs. Investors had bid up Workhorse shares to record levels. They expected it would get at least a piece of the multi-billion-dollar contract. When that didn't happen, Workhorse shares lost 50% of their value in just 2 days. Analysts in turn cut their target prices. While we were not modeling success in the USPS, we had anticipated Workhorse would play a role in the contract, especially given the administration's stance around government fleets being zero emission. Cohen analyst Jeffrey Osborne wrote on Monday after Workhorse's Q4 earnings calls. After a meeting with the Postal Service on Wednesday, Workhorse said it will follow the proper due course procedures as defined by the USPS and will also look to other options available to us, Workhorse CEO Dwayne Hughes said in a press release on Thursday. In the interim, we have retained the services of leading legal and corporate advisory firms, including Aiken Gump Strauss Hauer and Feld LLP and Mound Cotton Woolen and Greengrass LLP, to identify our options and pursue them effectively, he said. Workhorse shares traded at $13.76, down 7.77% on Thursday. The meme stock frenzy briefly pushed Workhorse shares above $42 a few weeks ago. With the loss of the extremely lucrative USPS NGDV contract, Workhorse lost its single biggest chance to gain scale in the EV market, short seller Philip Martinelli wrote on Monday. So this was a pretty big deal. So basically, Workhorse was depending on this contract, and pretty much the share price, the entire hype around this stock the entire time was based on this contract, okay? Their entire business pretty much single-handedly depended on this contract. They pretty much have nothing else. All the other stuff that they were getting into, like the drones, the speculation about well, I guess it's not speculation because they were saying that they were getting into refrigerated vehicles, all that type of stuff. I mean, that would have been further on in the future, and they hadn't started doing anything with that yet. But in my opinion, they couldn't even deliver on the small orders that they had for the UPS. So how in the world were they going to deliver on this USPS contract, especially when you consider that they didn't have the resources to deliver on the UPS contract in the first place? Now, they had some partnerships that came along, and there was a lot of hype and speculation based on, what the company said they would be doing and the potential, or their potential, to get involved in these other things that I mentioned in the future, but they really weren't doing much. They had all their eggs in one basket, and it's very sad to see that didn't pan out for them, but they're still highly dependent on getting this contract in order to even survive, because now they've got debts that they really can't pay. So if they end up not getting this contract, and as I just read, this is going to be a long process. So what I'm thinking, we may see, or that's likely, is that because there's still a lot of Workhorse investors and Workhorse supporters and people that really, I guess, believe in this company, we're probably going to see some hype, just like we saw when we were waiting on this contract to come through. We're probably going to see the same type of volatility, with shares going up based on people once again anticipating that they're going to get this contract. To me, this is kind of risky. It's a little bit too risky for me to mess around with, especially when all these other great companies are on sale right now. So for now, I think I'm going to stick with that. But there is other news that may, make it worth it for some people. It just depends on, your risk tolerance and whether or not you believe that this will actually come through for them. But there's another piece of news that came out just recently that could give Workhorse the edge slightly, and let's get to that real fast. This new news is that 17 U.S. House of Representatives Democrats introduced legislation today, actually, that would provide $6 billion to the U.S. Postal Service to buy tens of thousands of additional delivery vehicles. And Workhorse popped about 14% on this news today, and it's all because it would require that 75% of this new fleet of the USPS would be all electric or zero emission vehicles. So currently the USPS says that they are committed to having at least 10% of their next generation delivery vehicle fleet be electric. So this is part of their multi-billion-dollar plan to retire their 30-year-old gunner vehicles. But they did say that they could boost that percentage if the company received, or if the USPS, received billions of dollars in government assistance. But here's where I stand on this. So number one, this still has to be approved by Congress. And number two, there's no guarantee that Workhorse will come out on top if this does get approved. There's no guarantee that the USPS is going to buy these vehicles from Workhorse. And here's my logic behind this. So we've heard all of this before. It was pretty much the exact same story the first time. And how did that play out? So, history tends to repeat itself. And there's a reason that Workhorse didn't get awarded any portion of this contract. And while we may not know the exact reason, I think that I can speculate as to why they didn't. So bottom line for me right now is that I'm simply not interested. There's pretty much way too much risk. And even if they were to be awarded a significant portion of this contract, well, again, we have to look at the history here. And based on this company's history, based on the history of Workhorse, they may lose the contract because they're not able to deliver. So far, this company hasn't done anything to show me that they should get this contract. And if I were interested in investing, I would rather wait until there's a solid reason for me to do so. Meaning I would rather wait to see if they get awarded this contract. And even then, that's still risky because, like I said, they may not be able to deliver. I mean, we have to go with what we've seen with our very own eyes. And what I've seen with my very own eyes is that they were struggling with that UPS contract. I stopped keeping up after a while, but I still don't believe that they've actually delivered on that one. Now, I'm not knocking anybody that wants to invest in this company. It's none of my business. It's my opinion and my decision not to. But I am curious to see how many of you guys that are listening to me right now are invested in this company or would invest in this company. So let me know down in the comments below, and also let me know why Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Let me know if you think I'm right. I'm really curious to see. While I have you here, I wanted to quickly tell you about the brand new First Trade app, available for mobile or PC. The platform will give you access to powerful and easy to use tools and allows you to trade with less restrictions, zero commissions, zero fees, and you can use the first link in the description below to download a free stock today without having to deposit any money. This will greatly help out the channel and is always appreciated. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Congrats, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of the video. If you like what you watched, make sure you subscribe because I put out videos just like this one every single day. And please do me a favor and smash that like button if I helped you in any way, because it really goes a long way in helping the channel out and keeps me motivated to make videos every single day. Now, there's a lot of work involved, a lot of research, and a lot of time and effort into editing and putting these out daily for you guys. You can subscribe from your screen right now. Or if you want to watch one of my other videos, I'm sure YouTube has some good content picked out for you on the left-hand side of your screen now. Thanks for sticking it out with me till the end, and I will see you guys in the next video.